The main branches of philosophy are logic, the study of the nature of arguments; epistemology, the study of the scope and nature of knowledge; metaphysics, the study of the nature of reality or ultimate reality; ethics, inquiry into questions about how we should act; and aesthetics, the study of questions about art and beauty. Depending on which philosopher you ask, the number of branches can actually vary between 3 and 5. And if they are including sub-branches, such as political philosophy, philosophy of religion, or philosophy of mind, and so on, then the number will obviously increase. For now, let's take some time to define these 5 terms so that you can get a better idea of the kinds of questions that are studied in philosophy. To simply say that metaphysics is the study of reality, or the ultimate reality, is not especially informative. The prefix meta has the meaning of after or behind, and is often used in philosophy to indicate what is called a second-order activity. A second-order activity looks at the frameworks within which a first-order activity takes place. For example, while ethics deals with questions about what is right and wrong, meta-ethics deals with what is meant by right and wrong. So, a meta-subjective study operates at a higher level of abstraction than the subject itself. Similarly, physics, along with the rest of the empirical sciences, like chemistry, geology, and biology, involves the study of the interactions between objects in the world. Metaphysics deals with questions such as the nature of causation or the existence of transcendent realities beyond the observable. In the writings of Aristotle, metaphysics cover both ontology and epistemology. Ontology deals with issues relating to existence, such as the existence of transcendent beings like angels and God, and questions about the processes of change and causation. The question, do souls exist, is a metaphysical one. On the other hand, the question, can we know that souls exist, is an epistemological one. When epistemology, which is more clearly defined as being concerned with knowledge, that is, the structure of knowledge, its origins, its limitations, and so on, is removed from metaphysics as a separate branch in its own right, then we can understand why metaphysics, which is largely not concerned with verifiable things, is regarded by some philosophers as possibly meaningless or even nonsensical. Wittgenstein, for example, thought that other philosophers were confused or misled into thinking that metaphysics is a worthwhile endeavor, when all they have really done is used words outside their normal context where they become incoherent. However, in spite of such criticisms, the kinds of questions asked within metaphysics are some of the most enduring, interesting, and profound in philosophy. Epistemology combines 2 Greek words, episteme and logos, meaning the study of knowledge. Epistemology is very important for philosophers because sometimes, in the process of exploring a question, we can come to the conclusion that we cannot possibly know what answer to a question is correct. It is one thing to think something or to believe in an idea as a matter of personal opinion, but it is quite another to be able to say that we can know that thing or idea with certainty. Consider the following phrase: what goes around comes around, specifically as a description of the idea of karma. Do you believe that that's true? If so, why? If not, why not? More to the point, how can you know whether that is true or false? On what basis did you form that belief? Was it through some experience or some kind of extensive empirical investigation exploring whether or not, in fact, what goes around will always, without fail, come around in all possible situations? Or was it through a purely mental exercise? Again, in epistemology, the focus of the question isn't so much whether or not karma actually exists, is whether or not you can know that as a true and justified belief. As many people believe around the world, there might be such a system built into the very fabric of the universe. There might be some kind of metaphysical and absolute justice beyond what is recorded in our legal rulebooks or in the annals of history. It's one thing to believe that such justice is important and real, but can you know it and know what the essential features of it are? If so, how? And how would you persuade others to embrace what you are saying? And speaking of the values of right and wrong, how do you know that stealing is wrong and generosity is good? Is it wrong to cheat on your boyfriend or girlfriend? Should you always tell the truth? Are there situations where violence and murder are morally justified, such that you might even celebrate someone's death? Philosophers do not rely on the authority of tradition, history, culture, or religion to answer such questions. They form logical arguments to justify and defend their claims while considering other competing views toward better understanding how we should and how we ought to act in such situations. Aesthetics is the study of art and beauty. What is art? What is beautiful? What is ugly? With so much of our energies devoted to looking good, looking at good-looking things, making music, listening to music, painting, dancing, and decorating, together representing billions of dollars spent worldwide in those pursuits, it would seem that these questions matter a lot to us too. Is beauty and art in the eye of the beholder? Are there things that we ought to find beautiful and things that we ought to find objectionable or offensive? Is there such thing as beauty? And if so, how would we know? As you can see, many questions in philosophy seem to overlap across the so-called main branches. What matters above all is that we try to engage them in a logical way, which of course brings us to logic, which is in some sense the most fundamental field of inquiry within philosophy. Philosophy, as with any formal academic discipline, requires that we defend our claims about the world with good arguments. Without a systematic way of forming and evaluating the quality and substance of the claims and arguments, philosophy can devolve into a random speculations and unsupported assertions.